The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of that galaxy and direct from our own, this is ForceCenter presents OtherCenter, and I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Spooky Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Jennifer Landa. I forgot something spooky. Sorry.
We didn't talk about it. I just was inspired by our topic.
If you had come up with one, Jen, I was going to have to throw in like Halloween marshmallow peeps. It's good. Hey, it is spooky season. We've reached October. Can you believe it? October 1987. 2023. Time keeps on rolling, and we are going to be discussing the spooky season as it rises from the grave. Joseph's got a great list of questions about this holiday time, which is a favorite for many people. Before we get to that, we are going to let you know, as always, that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. A little bit later, we'll have a ForceCenter recommends an audiobook we think and maybe want you to try out on us. We also have an ask, and the ask, before I pitch it to Joseph, begins with a thank you. Thank you for all who hung out with us on YouTube Friday for the live stream. It's been a lot of fun doing the Other Centers live, the questions of other variety, helping to build the show, the brand, the channel, and keep us going and keep us engaged with all of you. But that's one way we do it. Joseph, we have an ask about the other way.
That is right. We have our wonderful Patreon. People have been very kind, very supportive there, particularly during this OtherCenter era. We did a show a little while back that was actually a patron reward, where if we got to a certain level, we were going to do a live stream, which we did, and we discussed our favorite desserts. And we found out that there are three of us all like a dessert that is physically available at the same location, the Grove here in Los Angeles. So when we reach our next goal, which is $2,300 a month, which we are quite close to, the three of us are going to take a field trip to the Grove where we can sample one another's favorite desserts. We will, in one day, eat some amount of cheesecake, donuts, and pie. And we'll do some videos while we're there, and then we'll record a podcast episode about it. We always joke about taking field trips. But outside of maybe seeing a couple of the Galaxy Far, Far Away movies together, we've never done a field trip thing like this, and we've certainly never reported on it in a fun journalistic podcast style afterwards. So I would love to do this. If you can help us get to $2,300 a month, that is the goal. And you also, of course, get access to our Discord. Lots of fun and friendly chat now about everything from pizza toppings to that galaxy far, far away.
And I want to, well done. Great ad read there, Joseph. And I'm excited about the on the live stream Friday, we did the prompt there, Joseph. Was a great idea, great spin of the question. We got to do a ForceCenter orders a pizza together. And that's still being discussed in some circles. Our buddy is discussing with me. And then he brought in our buddy Hal Lublin in on the conversation. A lot of thoughts about chicken being the first. Artichoke hearts, Jen, your artichoke hearts brought a lot of thoughts, and it was fun. And now I actually want this pizza in real life.
Yeah, and that could be our next Patreon goal. We could just turn into a channel where we eat weird things.
Yeah. There's a lot of those channels that give things tries and whirls. We can just we can field trip. Right. Speaking of all that, Life Adventures is this section we have here and had for years to really catch up and kind of say, hey, here's who we are as people. But OtherCenter's been all about, here we are as people, and it's been part of the fun journey. But Jen, catch us up. Life, adventures, and all of it in between.
Yeah, I ended up going to the Arts District on Saturday. My husband and I actually had a date night, which was unusual and fun. And I have to say, if you haven't been to the Arts District in downtown LA in a few years, we used to go quite often before we had kids. And it was cool, but it was very much like there were a lot of empty warehouses, not a lot of people out, not a lot of places to go to. There might be like one restaurant on a corner, and then that's about it, right? We went, and it has completely changed. I felt like I was in New York City There was valets, restaurants, bars, new living complexes. I literally felt I can't describe this feeling of where you know a place and suddenly now you're back in that place and it has completely changed.
Yeah.
And everything that you knew is gone and has been replaced by something like glossy and cool and hip. And there were people walking around and I felt like I had stepped out of a time machine. It is one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had. But it's pretty cool. I will say it's pretty cool. And it's nice to see that after COVID, that all these new businesses have kind of brought life to that area, which was kind of just deserted.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So what was the I was going to say what was the goal of the date, which is weird, but like what were you there to do? Were you seeing a show, going out to dinner?
No, we just went out to dinner at this place in the and I don't remember, Manuela, I think it was. And it was just like what you had described. We're like, we walk into this space and I'm like, oh, we're actually outdoors. We are technically outdoors. It was really a unique experience, but it was a delicious dinner. Highly recommend it. But yeah, a lot of fun.
I love that. That's great. I love experiencing that. Sometimes it's the other way. You go to, like, I'll go to an old mall I used to work at and be like, there's no stores here. What's happening? Is my past dying?
Right.
But that's great.
Yeah, the other way around.
Beautiful. You know what? My life adventures involve a little lack of hope. So Joseph, you're going to have to bring us home with all the hope in the world. I'm in without giving too many details, just a small transition period in my life. Lost a job. I've been working for most of this year, part-time writing kind of thing, and kind of knew that was happening. And so once again, at a transition point, we all get those points, and it kind of gets exhausting when you're at it again. You're like, am I back to step one? Am I back to step -2? And I've been trying to force myself to invoke a little, some feelings of hope and optimism for things I have to do, including OtherCenter and ForceCenter, and maybe getting back to talking about the big space saga that we love. And so it was a little bit of homework this week for me to not get down, to also reconnect to things that brought me joy. I don't want to talk too much about it because it involves struck work, but there's a series of shows, a couple shows that I used to love, or even watching football or something. I used to love it. I could have done a podcast about some of my favorite primetime animated show back in the day. And I just stopped watching 6-7 years ago. Just stopped cold. And this morning I was like, I'm going to watch that season 35 premiere, and I'm going to sit down like I used to and reconnect to some of the joys that it's one thing to change and maybe not be interested in things as much, but it's something that I do where I just kind of cut off and I cut things off. And then I sit there thinking of the good old days of when I used to watch or love it or have some joy from this thing. So that was my weekend, trying to reconnect with joy so that I could infuse hope into my next journey of my part of my professional career. And we'll see if it works out. Stay tuned. But it was an okay weekend. It was an okay weekend.
Well, without actually reviewing the show, what was the emotion? Did it feel like reconnecting with an old friend, or did it feel like trying to recapture the old glory and time has moved on? People could probably figure out what animated show has been around for 35 years. There's not that many candidates.
I laughed out loud at 2 moments. Like legitimately, breakfast burrito had to be put down because I was like, those are 2 lines that made me laugh. And it did feel like that. It was a particular, it was like a specific character, and they've done some stuff like that before. And I just, it made me feel like that. But also the topic, it was about, say a satire on funding law enforcement agencies and security agencies and that kind of stuff. It was spot on, and it was poignant, and it was funny, and it felt like a lot of things in the past. So yes, it was a good experiment, and I'm going to continue. It's going to be a Monday morning routine instead of a Sunday 8 p.m. routine for me.
Nice. It's always great to get back to those opportunities or those structures.
Yes. And just analyzing, little self-analyzing of why did I stop? There's like 10 things I could say that in my life. Why did I stop doing that? Is it because I didn't need anymore, didn't want anymore, or did I just unplug something in my soul? Trying to figure it out.
I think time might be a factor. I know that's for me. Sometimes I'm like, why haven't I reconnected to this thing I love? Because I've been doing other things that I love, or watching other things that I love.
Indeed. So that also, final thing. Sorry, I got to catch up with a former guest and friend of the show, Mike Black. A lot of you remember Mike Black popping on some of the Data Bank Brawls, his classic voices and comments. It was his birthday this weekend. So we had an impromptu Comedy Store patio midnight birthday celebration for Mike Black. So Mike Black, if you're listening, happy birthday, buddy.
Oh, that's great. It's been too long since I've seen Mike.
So great. Joseph, take us home with hope and soaring spirits.
Why are you putting this on me? No, it has been a busy time. I talked last week about having a little bit of a hard time, and this is definitely a time where I do need to try to reconnect with hope and just keep going. There are a lot of good things going on, but I think I'm just worn down by all of the various stresses of life, and it is absolutely wonderful to have creative adventures, and I'm extremely lucky and privileged to have creative adventures. But a part of creative adventures, as you both know really well, is you're putting your soul out there. So when you get a no, it takes a lot of psychological and emotional work to go, this is not somebody literally taking a piece of my soul and flushing it down the toilet because it's worthless, which is what it feels like. You have to try to step back and think of all the other factors and all that. So that stuff can be really hard. But some of the good stuff going on this week is I spent a lot of time doing creative stuff, writing a story, recording an audio adaptation of the story, which is all part of the Kickstarter rewards for the short film I've been working on, The Nightmare Adorable. I'm also getting ready to go to Portland, Oregon this coming weekend because there's going to be 2 screenings of The Nightmare Adorable at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, which I love. So that stuff is all really positive and really exciting. Other thing that I've been doing is I've been trying to exercise more by just going for walks. And it's been really lovely. I'm lucky to live in a nice area where there are a lot of different beautiful places to walk. This is the first time I've ever felt irresponsible about exercising because it's so nice to walk away from the computer. And I should be just like, I can get a mile and a half in a half an hour in this short loop. And I keep just like wandering into the Hollywood Hills and getting lost on purpose. And it feels irresponsible, but it's real good exercise. The thing I realized this week, which is the most hopeful thing I've got, is there are 4 different, is that right? 3 or 4? There are 3 different weird bears that I can walk to. So that's a really hopeful and wonderful thing to live in a neighborhood where I can pick, do I want to walk to this picture of Smokey the Bear? Do I want to walk to this picture of a bear or a statue of a bear in Griffith Park that has its little arms outstretched as if to offer the world a hug? Do I want to walk to that bear? Or there's a place in my neighborhood where people just randomly have a statue of a bear in their yard. And someday I will knock on those people's door and just say, thank you for having a bear in your yard for apparently no reason other than it brings joy. So there you go. But walking to bears is my hope. Walking to bears. I think that's a great song as well. And a lesson for all of us. Find your bears and walk to them. I know there's a couple of those bears you're talking about. I love that. Well, Joseph, we are going to dive into the main topic here. Spooky season. It's rising from the grave. We're here. I can smell the pumpkin spice in our kitchen right now. Some coffee's being made. So take it away with spooky season. Yeah. We have had lots of different kinds of conversation on OtherCenter, and some of them have been a little bit heavier, and some of them have been a mix of heavy and light. And I'm very curious to see what this one will be, because it's a fun time that's, grounded by the reality of our own mortality. Yay, fun. But that to me is the spooky season. It's one of my favorite times of year. Ken, I know you have had up and down relationship with it over the years, or maybe sometimes even indifferent relationship to it. I don't know a ton, Jennifer, about your relationship to it. So I was really excited to dive in and discover all of our history with the season and our thoughts about it. So I would just want to start there. Jennifer, what is your general relationship with the spooky season? Do you like it? Are you indifferent? And if so, why?
I've learned to like it because, as we've talked about, my childhood was not so much about the spooky season. The spooky season was considered scary, bad. And it wasn't until after I had kids that I started to understand, oh, this is why it's fun. And you get to dress up and you get to go around the neighborhoods, and people in Los Angeles, at least, people really go all out because you do have visual effects people and practical, people who build monsters for a living, and you will see it on their front lawn, and it's just it's kind of crazy, but a lot of fun. So I've been learning to embrace those things. And there's also now a cuter element to Halloween. I'll see these adorable little ghost drawings, cozy in their little treehouse, making coffee and tea. This is side of Halloween that I'd never explored until now. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, there is a side of it that is just a celebration of autumn.
Yes,
and
right.
Everything that cozy that can come with that. Of well, it's a little cold outside, and maybe the dead are rising, but let's make some cider too.
Right, exactly.
That's lovely. Well, we'll talk more about your childhood experiences, because I'm fascinated with sort of the why of that. But Ken, I want to go to you. I know we'll get into childhood, and I know that there's some great stuff there to discuss. But right now, where are you at? What's your relationship with the spooky season?
Yeah, I'm trying to challenge myself to not go to 1985 or 81, where spooky season might have been changed or permanently ruined for me. But I actually do like it. I'm with you, Jen. Out here, it's such a clear season, and I don't know, Joseph, you've been maybe plugged into it a little bit better than I. But in the last couple of years, it's been oh, plus there's Halloween lights now. Used to be just Christmas lights. Now all the houses have Halloween lights, and we can drive around. I don't remember that even 5-10 years ago in town, but that's part of the fun for Grace and I. It's her favorite season, and it's important for me to remember that, right, when I'm out there ranting or not, or as you said, just having an indifference towards it. So I have gotten to enjoy it. It blows me away, actually. Not that people like the holiday season, and there's reasons too, and some of it surfaced like candy, and some of it might be deeper. But yeah, Jen, in our neighborhood, there's one particular guy that about September 1st, he starts building his front yard, and he turns his house into a haunted castle. And we're talking wood. There's teams, and it's right by the coffee shop I go to, so we always see it. And we usually go once or twice a week, so you see the progress. And I remember when I initially saw that, I was like, "Why the hell is this guy doing this?" Because he puts 6 weeks into it, and he's got it up for maybe 4 weeks. They start taking it down, right? And I'm like, I don't know, that doesn't seem worth it. But then you drive by when everyone's there, and the neighborhood comes out, they see it, and you're like, you know what? What's 6 weeks of hard work for 4 weeks of joy? That's a good trade-off. So there it is. I'm trying to reconnect to the joy. So I do allow myself to appreciate it. And I'll say this, I love October. October's a good month weather-wise. As a baseball fan, it's the World Series. I've always loved October, and it kicks off the final 3 months of the year, which I've always enjoyed because I also like colder weather. So it's a complicated relationship, Joseph.
Yeah, no, understandably, but I like you reaching for the positives. And I love what you're both saying about decorations. I think growing up in Minneapolis, it was hit and miss because you kind of didn't know in October how cold it would get. And it is, button up against people getting everything all decorated for the holidays, as you're saying, for December time holidays. But yeah, in LA, people are starting earlier and earlier. On one of my walks up in the Hollywood Hills, somebody has a large statue robot. Hopefully it's not AI, of a skeleton character from a Tim Burton movie that many people love. And when you walk by it, it goes off and starts talking, and you don't even have to walk that close to it. And that must be driving everyone in that neighborhood mad, because they're going to be listening to that same speech for 6 weeks. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. For me, we'll get into the childhood stuff as well, but I just got to a turning point where, for me, holidays were always about, the main way I'd celebrate them is, can I do a show on that holiday? That'd be great. I got to a point where just I really like this holiday. I want to make an effort to actually celebrate it. And my wife, Sarah, has been very supportive of it for the last several years. On October 1st, She puts out a little pumpkin that she's bought for me and writes a little note of, have a happy spooky season. So there's a part of it for me. It's just permission to enjoy something I enjoy. And I went on about why I like Halloween as a holiday on our recent Q's episode. So I'll try to keep it short. But I think for me, a lot of holidays have an attachment of family or thanks or bow your head for this reason and try to be, less selfish. And I don't know, there are a lot of holidays for me in the way I've experienced them that have an undercurrent of expectation, of guilt, of do better. Halloween is just fun and fantasy and a safe place for people who feel like outsiders. It is, pumpkin beer and Dracula cape season. It's on actual Halloween. It's, dress up is weird and get free candy. It is a celebration of being alive, but this celebration of being alive that is created by being honest that not everything in life is perfect. I feel like there can be a pressure in society to always remain positive, a toxic positivity to look away from problems and scary things. And I think when you strip it back, the spooky season is a season to have a sense of humor about it, have a sense of fun and play and community about it. But what we're doing is confronting the darker sides of reality that it's really fun to go through the neighborhood and see how many people have bought the 12-foot skeleton with light up eyes from Home Depot. But underneath that fun is a reality that we're all skeletons and we're not going to end up 12 feet tall in people's lawns, hopefully. But that's where we're all going. And there's this interesting mix of dealing with that reality and having so much fun with it while looking it in the face. And I think that contrast is what draws me to it.
The dance with the darkness is a great way to look at it, to find the deep themes behind it. I'm also hearing reasons why I was kept from it, which aren't good.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for kids, especially the way Halloween has been of like dress up like a hero that inspires you. I don't think it's all about like doom and death and make your 6-year-old face their mortality. I don't mean that. I mean, just mean kind of on a cultural level. There is that side of it. I think there's everything from, for kids, they got to go back to school. It's getting colder. And then suddenly they get to dress up and have candy. It's like this great reason to look forward to fall, which might otherwise bum kids out. And for adults, and I think one of the reasons it's so big in LA is, man, I'm not going to talk about them because they're still struck work. Been watching some early horror films, and they're so coded to the outsider, to the misunderstood. They're so sneaking in ideas that you couldn't put into like a proper drama at the time. There's a reason that outsiders see themselves in horror. And I think it makes the art of horror movies, books really, really important. And I think that's why, there are a lot of people who gravitate toward it of, I feel like an outsider and this is my time to shine.
The history of that's fascinating. I mean, I appreciate that side of the horror films more and more and more. Whether I like being scared or not, but that's a great way to look at it.
Does Grace articulate to you? Does your partner Ken articulate to you what spooky season means to her?
I think it usually we're arguing over candy corn, which I love. It's probably best without giving too much of her own story away. It's probably best aligned with some of the stuff you're talking about. This is the 4-week period in which she was not persecuted for who she was or what she wanted in life or what she wanted to dress, and it was celebrated or explored. This is someone who was pulled up in front of a class in like 5th or 6th grade because she had black finger nail polish on, and was literally disciplined and mocked in front of the whole school. For it, a Christian school. And so I think there's a straight line from that personal trauma to I get to do this 12 months out of the year if I want, but this month it's we're all on the same team. And I think there's a great power in that. And you're diving into some of that, the outsiders, those who feel not part of the normal thing. She's, I don't want to quote Struck movies, but there's a movie out there in the mid '90s with a great soundtrack with she identifies with a lot as a young witch coming up in the world. So yeah, and she cites that stuff a lot.
Yeah, and that is great, and I can think of a couple different movies that might fit that I look forward to talking about more later. So there is a kind of a fun debate. I've heard comedians have great bits about this, where sometimes when you ask people to articulate why they like the spooky season or scary movies, people just say it's fun to be scared, and then sometimes it can be hard to get them to dive deeper than that. So people love to say it's fun to be scared. So my question for you, Jennifer, is it? And in what way is it fun? Do you like being scared? And if so, is it fun to you?
I don't understand these people. My sister is one of them. My husband is one of them. My sister gets terrified afterwards if she's obsessed with horror movies. Let's just put that out there. She's obsessed with horror movies, obsessed with reading like horror books, grew up on Goosebumps. And she loves to be scared. And then she'll call me and be like, I think someone's breaking in the house. I'm like, no one is. You probably shouldn't have watched that movie, right? At like midnight. So I don't know why she likes it. I don't like it. I don't like jump scares. I hate loud noises. I don't like Halloween haunts. I went to the Not Scary Farm one year as a teenager, and it was the most traumatic experience of my life. I wanted to like fall to the ground and just cry and be like, please leave me alone. People touching you and like sliding on their knees, shaking a tin can right next to you. Like horrifying. Like my husband will come down if I don't hear him and he's like, hey, I will scream. So I don't get it. And I mean, I have not seen any of the movies from our childhood. Never seen Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, Jason, Halloween, Poltergeist. I have never seen any of them. And I don't know if I ever will, because I just am. Nope, thanks. I'm good. I don't need to have that in my mind. So yeah, I don't like to be scared, and I don't understand it.
I love this powerful perspective that you own. I really wish we could be talking about the galaxy far away, because I have some follow-up questions about how it relates to different things in there. But yeah, but then I think there are some scary things that are about aesthetics and ideas that are just sort of presented. So you can kind of wallow in the idea, and the narrative isn't constructed to try to make you jump or try to get in your head.
Right.
So, I mean, and I think that's a part of the reason that I enjoy the spooky season as well, because it is, it's about the aesthetic. It's about like, do you like capes? Do you like skeletons? Do you like bats? But not as much about the like, do you want to fear for your life every second? As those are, different extremes that we can talk about.
Right. And there are some people who I really get into it when I see these influencers. Their aesthetic is Halloween and spooky, and they embrace it. And I watch them going through these mazes and things like that at Universal, and I'm impressed that they can do it. And they don't even flinch, or if they do, they like it and they laugh. I'm just like, wow. I just think it's really cool. I'm not one of those people though.
Yeah. I have a theory, and I could be wrong. I think that sometimes when people say it's fun to be scared, I think what some people are experiencing is it's fun to survive being scared. It's fun to be scared in the moment and then to come out the other side. I think certainly, I think for like for watching like a film, and I think it's kind of the same process of watching a scary movie, maybe like a slasher movie, where the killer is in the house, but you don't know where. They're going to pop up in this scene somewhere, but where? There's this tension that builds, and then this release when it finally happens, and then you're okay. And I think there's with horror and comedy, there's some similarities. There can be like it's the same as like kind of making it through a really sort of cringe comedy about social awkwardness.
Right.
I think that tension and release that makes you feel alive afterwards. I also think about it like a roller coaster. There's that tension on the first drop when you're slowly going up the hill, basically, and is you're getting higher and higher, being like, oh, now I'm kind of afraid of the drop. But then for people who like roller coasters, when you get the release and you drop, your stomach drops for just a moment and there's terror, immediately feel like joy. And I think some of it is just moving fast, but I think it's all about that. Can you endure the tension and the fear and the moment of fear and the scream to feel that thrill of being alive? That's like you feel when you're racing down a roller coaster.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of that, of it's fun to be scared. And then I think there are people who are, they say it's fun to be scared, but they're such aficionados, they aren't actually scared anymore. Either they've been to a million haunted houses and they sort of pride themselves on being able to predict when a tin can knee guy is going to come sliding, and they're not actually scared because they're on top of it. They've already sort of defeated it. And I think the same thing happens with a lot of horror movies, because we often root in the horror movies for the hero, but sometimes we also root for the monster. Sometimes there's catharsis when a monster kills a character we don't like. And so I think sometimes when people are enjoying horror movies, not all of them, but some of them, it's because they're actually relating to the monster. And, we often want the hero or the final girl to survive, but along the way, the monster often kills a lot of a-holes. And you can switch from your perspective of, I'm the final girl trying to survive the darkness, to, wouldn't it be great if I could kill that a-hole? So there is a switch back and forth in identification. And I think sometimes when people say it's fun to be scared, when they're watching a horror movie, it's also fun to feel like you have the power to be the one who causes the scare.
Right.
Ken, how do you feel about this, about the whole fun to be scared thing?
It's a journey. There's some great things you said that made me even kind of reevaluate where I'm at with it. I easily could easily say that I don't like being scared, and that comes from childhood stuff. Jen, I'm with you too. Haven't seen any of those movies. No current plans in my calendar to see those movies you're talking about. It is a point of contention in my relationship because I'm partnered with someone who's like, it's Halloween. We're watching a scary movie every night of the month, and I'm like, you are. But over the years, I traced that comes from the childhood aspect, and I've addressed it here probably maybe too much. My mother is great, but she instilled a lot of fear in me, a lot of her own fears. Joseph, you mentioned roller coasters. That's an interesting way to look at it, because I never went on roller coasters as a kid. Yeah. The closest I got was Space Mountain. Now, would you call that a roller coaster? I don't think so. But as a kid, that was this big unknown. I did Big Thunder Mountain, did Matterhorn, did not go inside Space Mountain because my mother was afraid of it. And my mother didn't like it. She's claustrophobic, among many other things, and wouldn't go in. So there was one year, it was like, we're going in. And my dad and sister, my mom and me, and my mom got hit with claustrophobia and pulled me out. And it was this thing of like, we don't go in there. It's the dark path into the forest. And so that just kind of translated growing up. But flash forward to, I think it wasn't just like the mid 2000s that I did proper roller coasters. Went with a former girlfriend and her friends to Magic Mountain, and that feeling you're describing, Joseph. The first time we rode X2 and I got off of it and I was like, I did it. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I did it. That was fun. Around the same time, I went to the top of Stratosphere in Las Vegas and rode those rides where you hang over 110 stories. And I don't even know if I do that again, but I did it. And I think there's some of that energy and that adrenaline that does kick in that I think that's changed. I don't love Tin Can Knee Guy either. I don't feel the need to go to those mazes, but on the times that I've done it a few times here in LA. And you're with people. I've been with people who are legitimately like, you have to I had this one friend, we had to almost push her against her will into the maze. And it was like, why are you here? Number one, looking back, we're like, maybe we shouldn't have, but it was, I remember dying laughing because those tin can knee folks were sliding up to her. I could see them from 20 yards away, like putting down their, lunch break food going, I got to go scare these kids. I could see him sliding but her, it was like, it was death. It was death. and it was amusing to me. So I'm not. I know I'm not that. I just think I have a lingering. I don't enjoy the horror movies or whatever, but I appreciate the themes. I think they're important themes. But yeah, I peed my pants as a kid. Peed my sleeping bag at a slumber party as a kid because we were watching a werewolf movie, and my friends told it was scary, and then they told a werewolf story, and you could there's wolves out there in the neighborhood. Don't hear them. And then they told the Bloody Mary story, the bathroom. Don't go look in the mirror. Say it 3 times. She's in there to kill you. That was a recipe for little Kenny peed his sleeping bag and was embarrassed at this birthday party at 7. So I think I'm still afraid of peeing my sleeping bag, and that's why I say I don't like being scared.
I love what you're both saying about some of the 80s horror movies of our childhood, because I finally went and rewatched them after hearing them or watched them, because I didn't get to see them when I was a kid either. And some of them are very effective. And some I have lived in terror of for years because they're described to me on the playground in a yes, pee your pants in your camping gear way. And others are laughably not even remotely scary. And when I finally watched the films, it was like a release to be like, I can't believe I have been scared of the thought of this for years, and it is the least scary thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I'm with you both too. I think there's a difference between say a roller coaster or watching a horror movie where you you surrender yourself to it, but no one's going to touch you. I in fact saw some ads today for a friend advertising we've got a no-touch haunted house. Which is great. Yeah. I told the story on our live stream, so I won't tell it again about going to a haunted house. And I think for me, having had to deal with some physical bullying, it is a trigger. A thing I've been afraid of for years finally happened in a Target toy aisle where I was looking at a toy, and it is like a 6-year-old kid just wanted to look at the toys, but I just felt this force shove my hip, and like I almost lashed out. It's like, oh no, it's a child who wants to look at toys. So I can't do I don't like doing the haunted house, and I would not like Tin Cup Man either, Jennifer.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. Please, no touch.
No touch. So we're talking a little bit about sort of like tone and atmosphere. So Ken, to you, what is the difference between spooky and scary?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a straight up like a horror film versus a thriller, right? And I find exactly what you said about those classic films of like, oh, I heard that was scary, and then you watch it, you're like, oh, that was fun. Oh, that was thrilling. And I've had that recently. I'm just talking about in terms of movies, but spooky to me is a chill in the air. It's the potential of being scared. You might survive it. I love the way you look at it like that, Joseph, of the thrill of surviving it. Where scary is just like, nope, I don't need that. Like you said, I don't need that in my head. I'll think about it later. Don't enjoy that. Nope. That's the line for me. Spooky's the potential. Scary is the reality.
Yeah, I like that. Jennifer, what do you think?
That's a very good point. Spooky for me is more fun. It's oftentimes a little bit more silly. I think it caters more towards kids, like, ooh, the spooky tale. I think of like, anything on Disney Plus, anything on there, right? Like all those movies, Casper, fun things like that. Scary is Poltergeist. Scary for me is Friday the 13th. And scary, I feel like it means that it could potentially be disturbing. And the intent is to make me, the audience member or maze goer, terrified. And so that usually that means like playing into our biggest fears, whatever they may be, or phobias, right? And so I don't like it. I feel like it's manipulative. And I don't like that loss of control. I think some people find it cathartic, like you're saying, or like, I'm surviving this. And I am like, no, I don't want to go on that type of roller coaster. Thank you very much.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I do think a lot about it is control. And I've had it where a couple, like in general, I don't like sort of torture porn or kind of gore of can you handle this gore? because like I can handle the deepest thematic trauma of what I might be facing, but like I just don't want to see a leg injury today. I just don't. So I've done that with a couple modern horror movies where I have given myself back some control by going, everybody loves this and I really want to watch it. What's the gore level? That has been a really interesting way to think about control of how much are you willing to give up in order to have the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, is that you look at who often gets it in these movies or these stories. It is women. It's kids. It's the person of color who gets killed first, right? It's so that to me already makes me like not happy. Like I don't want to see that. So I think that is why, like when they subvert it and they have maybe look, I see, and I haven't seen any of these movies, but I imagine there's a storyline where the victim comes back and is able to kill the person that victimized them, right? I'm just guessing here, but even still, I don't want to see it. No, thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is, I think, part of what makes horror movies so fascinating and their history so fascinating, because they do wrestle with so many perspectives, and even kind of the classic slasher films that emerged in the late 70s and the 80s. There's definitely ones that have lots of objectification and in lots of that, but they're all predicated on the idea of the final girl. And for swaths of time, like if you wanted to find a woman who was ultimately empowered and ultimately the last one standing, it was horror movies. So there's this mix of representation. Some, I would think not great, and some kind of very important to people. And now, because I think so many people grew up with films like that, there's so many films that deal with that and subvert those tropes, and things like Get Out and endless examples.
100%. I mean, and that's also why there is one scary movie that I do like, and I'm going to break it here, Carrie. I really liked that one growing up, is the idea of this girl who's bullied and then just giving it back, right? For those of us who were bullied and whatever, I mean, that felt really, really cathartic to watch that. So yeah, you're right. There can be, and that is a way to explore it in a healthier way, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like what you're both saying, and I really agree with the spooky, scary divide. And I think it's another reason I like this season is because it has a gradation. And to me, spooky is atmospheric, gothic. Do you dare stay overnight in the ominous castle? There's lightning and bats, like the Count from Sesame Street is spooky, right?
One.
And then scary is more like, there's a guy in your house who's got a chainsaw. You're like, yeah, okay, that is a little bit different. And my wife does not like the scary. She likes the spooky. So it's really fun for me to go through and say, I'm going to watch some scary movies in October, and I'm going to pick out some spooky movies to watch with my wife. So we've talked around the beginning of our adventures, but let's go back to the beginning and what spooky season was like for us as little kids. Jennifer, what was going on in your parents' minds or in your home life that spooky season was really forbidden or moved away from?
Yeah, she's come a long way. So, but I will say that when I was a child, really young, it was about like that. Halloween was the night that evil spirits were going to come out, and devil worshippers, Satan worshippers were going to be out roaming the streets because this was their holiday. And they could be dressed up in costumes, and we wouldn't know who these people were, but they were lurking in the shadows. So I became really terrified. And I remember not even really wanting to go trick-or-treating because I was scared. And I remember feeling very safe in my home. I'm like, thank goodness I'm at home, not outside where these evil spirits could grab me, right? And so I think that's also why we went to the mall. My mom, I actually wanted to go trick-or-treating in my neighborhood. And my mom's like, no, it's not safe, which is like crazy because our neighborhood was very safe. We're going to go to the mall to go trick-or-treat. And that was just sad and no fun for anyone. And so I really grew out of it very, very early on. I think by the time I was like 8, 9, 10, I was so over it. And I didn't want to dress up. I didn't like the holiday. I just wanted to get to Christmas. So thankfully now it's My mom still is a little weird about it, though. She does
Yeah.
not like to celebrate it as a holiday. But my kids love it. And so that's is really fun. Is I feel like now I'm getting to explore the things that I would have liked to explore as a kid.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
So when you say your mom was concerned about the evil spirits, was it connecting to some of the actual religious roots of, All Hallows Eve, or was it more being in the 70s and 80s, like actual Manson family type people are going to be roaming the streets? Was it more the practical fear of actual serial killers or more the religious fear?
It was all of it. It was a religious fear. My mother suffered a lot of trauma when she was a child. So it was like rooted in truth of how she felt as a kid. It was rooted in the 70s for sure. And that was a terrifying time. And my dad was always gone at night because he was working the night shift doing news. And so she was home alone with me and my sister. And so that also, I think, made her a little scared.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then if you believe all this other stuff, well, yeah, you're going to be really scared that evil spirits are going to come and potentially possess you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is concerning if you believe it. Yeah.
Right. If you believe it. Right.
Yeah. And Ken, I know you had a similar experience of having some beliefs of your parents impact Halloween, right?
Yeah, indeed. They were very upset at the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. Just did not like yes, I did look that up because I love also learning the actual, how we got this holiday. Where did it come from? Easter, Christmas, all of them. I'm fascinated with those kind of real histories. Not even real histories like everything else is a lie, but just how do we get here, right? Talking about Thanksgiving. There are some complicated things behind Thanksgiving, but I enjoy this spirit of that season, right? I can go with let's have some gravy, be thankful, and sort out the rest.
Thankful's great, yeah.
Some of that is there with Halloween, and I think I've come out swinging against my childhood or the era in which I was raised a lot, but also want to be honest about it. And you're touching on it, Joseph. It's there's some realities there. This is the era of I would sit down on Saturday to pour my Honey Nut Cheerios, pour milk into my Honey Nut Cheerios, and the milk carton had missing kids on it, right? And
yeah, right.
And talk about just low level stress and fear introduced into your life. I reference this kind of thing in a stand-up bit of just, I could ride my bike up and down the street and, abduction was around the corner. And it's easy to stoke that for fear. But then I shared, I think, on one of the episodes or maybe on the live stream, my sister was almost abducted in front of our house. So it's all real. And I understand my parents a little bit, especially as time goes on. I don't want to just come out swinging against they repressed my joy of candy and trick-or-treating, but I wasn't allowed to do it. It was viewed correctly or incorrectly. I don't know. Leave that up to all you to decide the All Hallows Eve. This was a pathway to evils. It's not unlike playing Dungeons and Dragons, like all those things that were real that you could look at on the headlines, not too far out. We were close enough to LA that Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was something I saw on the news and thought, could that be you had those realities. And so you got to that by trick-or-treating. That's the first step to a darker world. And that's what was sold to me. And we can laugh at it now, but it was a real fear. And so that just kind of, that's definitely why my relationship with the holiday is complicated or indifferent. And then as I grew up, you just those things kind of manifest in other things. And, I guess, grumpy is part of my aesthetic. I get it. But I roll my eyes at costumes. I just never got the joy of it. And but that's not right for me to take it away from other people. Right. That's where I'm trying to be in my life and have gotten to a point. So, so going back to a kid, I just wasn't allowed to do any of those things. Was not allowed. I dressed up as Pee Wee Herman twice for school. All right. 7th grade, I put a costume together. In 2009, I dressed up as Rowdy Roddy Piper 2 months before I actually met him. Or 3 months before I met him. And then when I was 4 or 5, I dressed up as Joseph from the Bible.
Oh my gosh!
Only costumes, probably just down the street from where you live, Jen. It was that era, and that's the only time. So I just, you don't experience it as a kid, it doesn't go with you.
Yeah, yeah. I think I had a mix of the experiences that you're both talking about, where I think I had more joy and encouragement, and then it was taken away by fear. by my parents. I think I originally gravitated toward the spooky season for some of the things that I've talked about with other things I liked when I was a kid. My perception of particularly entertainment back in the 80s is almost everything that came on the screen was some boring human man with a mustache and a beige suit in the exact same car. Maybe he's a lawyer or a cop now or something. I don't know. It was all boring. And I wanted fantasy. I wanted anything that was colorful or different or would fire my imagination. I tolerated the humans on Sesame Street to get to the Muppets. And who is this Count guy with the cape and bats and a weird laugh? And I didn't know what a monocle was, but I was introduced to it by the Count. So like the same reason that Star Wars and comic books and other things fired my imagination is because it was different and exciting. So I think I gravitated toward that. I loved the various television specials. You know, there would be a random monster movie that played, or, you know, Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I remember a very young, foggy memory. I'll have to track it down sometime of a very special, spooky episode of The Jeffersons. I'm sure it is not even remotely scary, but I remember being terrified by it because it's like the first time I was seeing some of this stuff. So I think I gravitated toward it because I think this season is also just a season of imagination and creativity and what if and things that you know, monsters and beings that look different. And then very young, you know, I did trick or treating, and then I want to think around like 8 or 9, the fear came in. You know, and as we were talking about last time, that the you know, razors in fruit, that wasn't real. That was an urban myth that spread to every parent. Like it didn't happen. It's been debunked. There was not a mass razor issue. It was a fear that perpetrated and I think benefited some people who wanted you to be afraid. Concerted effort of different groups to consolidate power, and being afraid of things that were different or fun or allowed, you know, different kinds of people to express themselves. They had reason to want to tamp down. So like on one side, I understand my extremely young parents heard a myth about razors, but they gave into their fear. And to me, the holiday is about pushing past your fear. Like, okay, well, if you're scared of things, then go trick-or-treating with your kids. Look at their damn apples. Don't just run away in fear and give in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's an absolute spot on take on it is you know, push past it, figure it out, and question those who are pushing those narratives.
Yeah.
Beyond the parent in the neighborhood who's like, I heard a thing on a thing.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you know, hey, if there's like, you know, if I had a kid and in LA, there's like, no, for real, it's you know, documented. There's a bear loose in your neighborhood. I wouldn't be like, face your fear, risk the bear, kid, right? But there's that, to me, that real difference between what is an actual concern. Yeah, don't get in a van with a stranger. I guess unless it's a lift, which we're now all okay with. There's a difference between those real practical, verifiable fears and giving into kind of a larger cultural thing. Thank you for the bit of therapy center there for me. So you guys both touched on it a little bit, but I'm curious, Jen, what was Halloween like for you as a teen or a young adult? You've kind of talked about having some rebellious periods, and I would think that kind of Halloween and spooky fun might have gone along with that. Did you have any sort of change as you got into high school, college?
Nah, I thought it was dumb. I thought it was dumb until I was, and I would often work on Halloween, so then it was extra dumb. So, it wasn't until I became, I think it was in my 20s, and I started going to like Halloween parties, costume parties, and that's when it started to become fun and a chance for me to create a costume and put it together, and you know, relying more on my crafty side. So that was really when it started to become much more enjoyable. And it wasn't just about like going to, that's another thing. Social anxiety, I'm knocking on random people's doors, asking for candy. I don't like that. Having to interact with people, that was not my thing as a kid.
Yeah.
So when it wasn't about that, and it was just more about like having fun and going to a party, whatever, then that's when it became enjoyable.
Yeah. And being given some agency over it of what kind of cool costume can you make to express yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And there was a great event at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. It's a Dia de Muertos celebration. That was awesome. And talk about like spooky. It was, you're in a graveyard and but you're seeing these incredible shrines that people have created for their loved ones. And it's really, I really wish that my parents had embraced that, but we're not Catholic, which is kind of the origins of the holiday in Mexico.
Okay.
But yeah, so that to me was like, oh, this is so beautiful. It's the idea that you can like, it's like you're creating a bridge from the other world of the people that you've lost in your life and welcoming them back for this day where, you celebrate the memory of their life. It's really a beautiful, beautiful holiday. One that I did not get to partake in when I was a child.
Yeah, but to me, I love that because it's exactly the kind of thing that I like, of like looking at death as something real and true, and not just being destroyed by it, but having this sort of honest look at it. And wouldn't it be nice if we could connect again?
Right. And you create the ofrenda, which is like the altar, and you might put out their favorite dishes, or you put their pictures out, and it's such a beautiful celebration of life.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be scared of. And that is what I love my parents have helped me with, is like, embracing death, and that kinds of things, and finding the humor and the joy in it, which is kind of weird. Like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But giving yourself some power over it, or at least acceptance with it, and not the fear of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. For me, I got to do a little bit of Halloween stuff again as a teen. I don't know what the hell was going on with my parents that they let me do this. I bet it was peer pressure from other parents. That's almost always the answer. But in ninth grade, a group of us decided to try to go trick-or-treating like one last time, because we knew that it would not be allowed. It would be frowned upon by society very soon. And as it turns out, it was quite frowned upon then, because it was ninth grade, and we attempted to dress up as Guns N' Roses, but not all of us looked like the specific members. And I think most people don't know, like, oh, of course, that's Steven Adler, the drummer from Guns. I don't think he was immediately recognizable. / maybe Axl immediate / yes. But so it was like the people that we knocked on the door did not know who or what we were, did not think people that age should be trick-or-treating. But that in of itself was really fun. And that was the last time I went like trick-or-treating and got like a true mountain of candy. Even though they were surly about it, they gave us lots of candy. I had a mountain of candy, and I put my Dr. Doom action figure on top of it, like it was his horde that he had conquered. That was my last happy trick-or-treating memory. And then as I got older, I started, going to parties and doing shows and finding lots of joy in that. How about for you, Ken? Once your parents were not in a place to dictate your relationship with spooky season, did it change at all as you were a teen or young adult?
You're assuming my mom gave up control at any point, including last week. No. I was insufferable. I've been insufferable for a while on this, and I'm trying to be a better person. And actually, the way we discuss our favorite space saga has helped change how I look at things. And I have a tendency to, again, I joke, grumpy is part of my aesthetic, but out of fear comes a hate, right? That little green guy's right. And so because I didn't get to experience it, because I'm just kind of a shy little kid at times too. So that carried over into young adulthood, where that translates to comedy. You and I have had off-air conversations, Joseph, about comedy and what drives comedy and what changes it. And I've struggled with trying to be more positive in comedy, which is not necessarily what people react to. Comedy likes to be people like it as a slam down on things and poking the fun. And so watching friends of mine, either high school, college, or by the time I get to LA and I'm at jobs, and watching people dress up or go to Halloween parties where you got to wear a costume, that turned into just an insufferable level of scorn from me. So I apologize to anyone else around me during the year. And I still struggle with that. That's just a natural instinct, especially again in the world of comedy. But I'll use it like this: dancing and on a dance floor. I my whole life thought the idea of going on a wedding dance floor seemed fun, but I was afraid to do it because I didn't know how to do it. Maybe I wasn't a good dancer. People would make fun of me. And I have been, people have been trying to drag me on dance floors for a long time, including a wedding in 1999 I went to. A friend from high school down in LA got married. And at one point, the bride was trying to pull me out on the dance floor, and I got angry. And the anger isn't because I didn't want to dance. The anger was I did want to dance, but I was afraid to embarrass myself. Which, by the way, I probably wouldn't have. Have you ever been to a wedding dance floor? And it wasn't until about 2004, a work friend of mine, we're at a work party, and she's like, let's go on the dance floor. I was like, oh, I don't do that. I don't do that. And she put down a rum and Coke in front of me, a hard drink, and said, get on the goddamn dance floor. And I've not stopped ever since. So I think some of that translates to how my view that this period of time you're talking about, Joseph, where maybe I would have liked to have dressed up. Maybe I would have liked to just gone to a party. Maybe I would have liked to get a pumpkin spice latte. I don't know. But I felt ashamed or embarrassed or unsure how to do it and do it right. That stupid human instinct we sometimes all carry with us. That it turned into, I shall mock those that I'm afraid to be. And I think that was a lot of it. Now, I have whimsy in my life, but I don't, I always, when I was a security director, whether the days I was in uniforms or the days I finally got upgraded to suits and ties. On Halloween, people be like, you got to dress up, people in the office. I'm like, what if something happens today and I'm dealing with a serious criminal threat and I'm dressed as Bozo the Clown? It's not going to work. I can't. It's not what's good the situation is.
Or is it going to be even more effective?
It might be. Right. Think of the viral photo that would have been Bozo the Clown arrests shoplifter. Like it would have been. So that's this period of time I'm talking about. And I've tried to move past it where even now, again, it's not my favorite holiday or necessary season, but I'm not going to stamp out those fires. I'm going to try not to.
I think that it is fun and cathartic to complain about things we don't like. It's fun to have joking conversation about what's your favorite, what's not. We've had some fun with some of our ranked conversations where the three of us often agree, and it's fun when we find a pizza topping we don't, agree about and all that. That stuff is all fun, but I think our society has shifted a lot to celebrating being contrary for contrary's sake because it gives the contrarian a sense of power and control. And that's what I feel you talking about is you didn't know what to do with this feeling. You didn't know what to do with your relationship with this season. You were surrounded by it. And so you reestablished control by being the humorous contrarian who actually has a different take. Actually, it's dumb. And I have the power back in my mind.
Yep. Insufferable.
Yeah, which is different than just not liking it, which is totally fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, you talked a little bit about your current spooky season traditions being a facilitator for your kids. So, what's that like, and what's enjoyable about it?
I would say decorating our house, like we've been trying to figure out what we're going to do this year, and the ritual of preparing our costumes. I try to start in September. I'm a little behind, and my daughter, she's like, I want to be a cat. I'm like, great, super easy. Nope, none of the cat costumes online are good. Is not what her vision is. Very specific. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to sew this. So that's always fun. My husband and I are going to try and figure out what are we going to wear. And then I also got to prepare goodie bags for each class.
Wow.
So for both of my kids, now that's a thing. I don't know why this happened, but now on Halloween, everyone brings little goodie bags, but you don't really put candy because other parents don't want you to put candy in there and the teachers don't like candy. So you got to come up with pencils and other things that you can order from Amazon. And then I like going to Target and I look at all their cute Halloween home decor. I don't buy it anymore. So yeah, these are my new traditions. Yeah, that's it. Costumes and goodie bags.
Yeah, no, that is right up your alley. And you, I feel like, have you posted Halloween costumes of yourself?
I have in the past. Yeah, I have. I used to be better about it. I think now I'm like, oh, what's the point? Although this year, I think we might go to several events. So that's a good thing, is if the kids can wear their costume more than once, because they don't really like them to wear it to school.
Right.
So yeah, I might have to really make a good cattail here or something.
Looking forward to the high quality cattail story on Instagram. For me, I really made a point of celebrating it. My wife putting out that nice pumpkin, and I pick out scary movies for myself and really make time to watch them, and spooky movies to watch with Sarah. Pick out a couple of books I'm reading. I haven't read it in many years, so I'm reading. I started this morning reading the original Dracula novel, because I haven't read it in a long time. And it's so great to revisit those kinds of seminal pieces of literature at different ages and see the different things that you understand. The book starts with Jonathan Harker's diary entry talking about a chicken dish he had with paprika. And I'm like, yeah. Every time I've read this before, it's like boring. Get to the vampire. And like, no, you're right. You should write down that recipe and give it to your wife, Mina. Good husband, Jonathan. So I get to experience it in a new way. A couple of great things to do in Los Angeles. There's the carved event at Descanso Gardens. If anybody's in the LA area, I highly suggest checking that out. They have, speaking of autumnal, they have a gourd house. It's just it's just a house made out of pumpkins, and you got to wait in line to take photos. But this is a great example of loving spooky season in the community of it. The first time I waited in line, I was like, I'm gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take a photo, looking like sad Charlie Brown in the gourd house, and I know it's gonna be this kind of embarrassing thing for Sarah to do, because are gonna be people there with kids, and like adults are in line to take their own weird, take a prom photo, take a their weird costume that I don't even know what. Great, you got a foam anime sword, and you need some time alone in the gourd house to take a photo. It's that vibe of everybody's there to have fun, which is great.
That's great.
Yeah, and then final thing for me, it's because a lot of what I'm working on is horror scripts, horror short films, because that's just the genre that I'm gravitating toward. It's a really great month to say, I'm going to make something this month. I'm going to be in the mood, in the zone, and get going. And this year, I'm going to work on a new screenplay. So those are some of my traditions. How about you, Ken? What are some of your current spooky season traditions now that you live with a self-proclaimed witch?
Yes, indeed. Well, you mentioned one. We go to Descanso Gardens. They have kind of a wintry, Christmassy one, and they have kind of a fall one. It's a great time. Get some a cider with a little whiskey in it and walk around. And it's actually a great thing. I highly recommend it if you're in SoCal. Yeah, we'll go around and look at the lights. We don't. It's funny. This is Grace's prime time season, but we're not big on either attending parties. There's just a lot of energy in that there, right? But even handing out, we are a little, oddly enough, bah humbug on like Halloween night, like lights off, no candy for kids. Like, but it's a little like we could do it, we could have fun with it, but it's we also have, it's when you got two chihuahuas that bark at a leaf falling, it's a thing. We go to a pal, a friend of her, Jen Murrow. She's big into Halloween, and she lives in a neighborhood in LA that is the area itself has some affluent citizens there that go all out, but also people from all over the city flock to it. It's like you can't find parking. You have to get there early, and you hand out candy. And that's actually been kind of a weird but fun tradition for me to like go to someone else's house to hand out candy. But the big thing is, yeah, we when we finally moved into together in 2019, the first October, we had Grace put up some stuff, some skeletons and some lights, and she was like, all right, I'm bummed I have to take it down. And I just remember, why? Why do you have it? So the tradition is it's already up, and we get to enjoy it a little bit more.
That's great. I remember that Halloween party. That was also a housewarming party, right?
Indeed. Big one.
And the house has remained warm ever since. Warm and spooky. Well, we are going to take a quick break, but first we've got a recommendation. And Jennifer, you have a recommendation, right?
I do. Let me find it here. It is Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. The description is, can we love the work of artists such as Hemingway, Sylvia Plath, Miles Davis, Polanski, or Picasso? Should we? Dederer explores the audience's relationship with artists, from Michael Jackson to Virginia Woolf, asking, how do we balance our undeniable sense of moral outrage with our equally undeniable love of the work? And also, is male monstrosity the same as female monstrosity? I must say, this book is one of the best books I have ever listened to, ever read. However, it is a deep dive into some of the crimes and allegations against Roman Polanski, Woody Allen. So if that type of stuff makes you upset or uneasy, probably should steer away from this. But it is really fascinating, especially being a Star Wars fan, having our identities tied to fandom. What happens when that identity becomes commingled with a problematic artist, like if you're a Harry Potter fan, right? So it really dives deep into this. It's fascinating and a great look at us as humans, really.
That is a great recommendation.
I might add that to my list. So to try that out and take Jen's recommendation, do so by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. It's a free audiobook. You get to listen to that and support the show in the process. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. Quick break, but more spooky stuff on the other side. Stick around for more OtherCenter. Welcome back to OtherCenter. Me, Ken Napzok, Joseph Scrimshaw, Jennifer Landa. We've got costumes on as we're recording right now. All right, I'm kidding, we don't, but maybe in our hearts and souls we do. Joseph, take it away.
Yeah, so we've talked about our relationship with a spooky season in the past and generally wrestling with what it is. I want to talk about some fun details here on the second half. So, Ken, you've already brought up some costumes you've worn, but that was my next question. So out of the things you listed, what is your favorite costume you've ever worn? Or perhaps maybe one that you want to wear in the future?
Might be a more wide open answer for me. So, look, I mentioned I went to school in 5th and 6th grade, dressed as Pee Wee Herman. It was I'm going to do it again. I didn't care. I had a Pee Wee Herman birthday party. So is it a Halloween costume or was it just a way of life for me at the time? I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. I put a lot of work into it. My mom, we drove around to thrift shops on the Central Coast trying to find a gray suit that would work. And we didn't actually find one. But we found a gray suit, but they were all a little baggy on a little skinny mini Kenny who was in 5th and 6th grade. But then I oversized toothbrush, a bow tie, did the whole thing. The shoes, oh my God! When we found the right shoes, it was a great day. So I do get it, right? Even though I did become an insufferable grump later on about costumes and I got it. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to represent something that was a lot important to me at the time. So I like that. And then I mentioned I dressed as Rowdy Piper, the late pro wrestler who was one of my favorites. And I was going to a party in 2009. I do remember that being the year. And my friend was like, yeah, you got to dress up. I was like, what the hell am I going to dress up as? I don't know. So I stumbled on that. So I ended up getting a hot rod shirt, and I had to find, it was hard to find the right kilt and the right print. And I had to go get it. And I got all of it. It was a pretty good costume. And then just as fate would have it, January 2010, I got to meet Roddy and then got to be in a wrestling ring with him in May 2010. And I got to be on stage with him at a comedy show dressed as him.
Wow.
And so the costume ended up being important to my life. So there you go. Halloween can turn things into important little moments in your life.
And how about you, Jennifer?
You know, I'm trying to think of what some of my favorite costumes. My favorite costume was the Hello Kitty piñata costume that I made. I really wanted to go as a piñata because I had discovered this technique of being able to sew felt on and make it kind of fringy like a piñata. So I thought that the body was going to be good, but then I had to find a head. So I just went to the piñata district and I looked for a nice big head that would fit over my head. And I found a Hello Kitty one. I didn't know what I was going to be. That was part of the fun of it. So what am I going to be? So I found this Hello Kitty head and I wore it out and people loved it. They wanted to take pictures with me, which was really fun. And it was kind of fun because it was so random. It was not related to Star Wars, which obviously people mostly associate me with that. So that was really exciting. And I couldn't see though. That was the only problem. And I left like the top part, the part where you would hang it on a hook to like actual piñata. So I left that. It just was so silly, but a lot of fun.
Did you have candy inside your costume?
That would have been good. No, I did not. I don't even think I carried around a bag of candy, but that would have been fun.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Or just throw it at people through the candy.
It is really tempting fate then to have people start, whacking the Hello Kitty costume. You don't want that.
Oh no. Yes. Right. Exactly.
That's great. Did you take it out to parties then?
I did. Yeah, we went to a couple Halloween parties that year, and so that was a lot of fun.
That is so great. Yeah, I love the concept of costumes, but I mentioned this on the Q show as well. I can't remember where I say things anymore. Anyway, it was so wonderful for me when I started doing theater and sketch comedy. It was so freeing to dress up and to be other characters. And my love of costumes and dress up became attached to being the thing I'm dressed up as and getting a lot of agency and power from, dressing up like a pirate and getting to be a pirate then. So then by the time I, had friends who liked doing Halloween and liked doing party, I just felt so awkward to be dressed as a pirate, but not be a pirate. Like, what do you mean I'm just supposed to stand here drinking Line Googles dressed like a pirate? I don't know. So I had a hard time with it. And then I had a breakup, and then I had some new friends I was meeting at a job I liked, and they were going to have hey, this is like adult Halloween fun, not sexy, but like we're dressing up on purpose as adults to have fun, come up with a cool costume. It's all friendly. No one's going to it's not a competition. Just have fun. And I so wanted to have fun, but I wasn't used to it. But I had a closet full of costumes from theater. And it's like, I don't want to be the guy who comes and is grumpy or makes some joke about how I'm, this is my, costume of a normal person or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I want to go to this party. In order to do it, I have to just pick something from my wardrobe of costumes. So I picked my squirrel costume, which is, a nice little suit with a giant tail and a furry hood built into it. But I'd only ever used that to actually play a squirrel on stage. And so I'd only ever put it on backstage with help. It's not easy to put on without help. And I was like, I need to put it on before I leave because I can't change I don't want to change on the street. I had a Subaru station wagon at the time, and the tail just barely fit in the Subaru station wagon. So I was hunched over, driving around as a cartoon squirrel, looking grumpy. And then I ended up having a great time. Somebody brought cherry vodka, and I was sitting around in a squirrel costume drinking cherry vodka is a nice memory.
The great.
That sounds fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It is one of those lessons, even when I learn it, I still have a hard time doing it again. I've gone to a couple of Halloween parties and come up with a costume in LA. It's still not I love looking at other people's. It's not my favorite thing to do. So, Jennifer, do you hand out Halloween candy at your house or any of your various homes?
Before, let's see, no. I mean, no, because we're out trick-or-treating. So what I'll do is I'll leave candy out for kids.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll get back. No. We also don't get that many trick-or-treaters is what I've noticed. I do have an amazing Ewok candy bowl. It's like a standing Ewok that's holding a candy bowl. But I dare not leave that out because I know someone will steal it. One year we saw these kids come. They were teenagers. And we had left out a big bowl of candy and they took it all, of course. So
they're the real monsters. They're the real thing to be afraid of.
Right. So I don't leave my precious Ewok outside.
Yeah. Ken, have you ever lived in a place where you have handed out candy?
From time to time. Yeah. Yeah, we roommates and I rented a house in Northridge for years, so I think we did that a little bit. A lot of times you're out. I'll be out this year on Halloween, so we won't face that a situation. But yeah. No, I've done it from time to time. Yeah, only because it's a good excuse to buy bags of candy.
Yeah,
right.
And then, if they don't get taken, you have to do them. Yeah, we handed out candy a couple times when we had our house in Minneapolis, but then that faded. And so far, no one has knocked on our apartment door in our large apartment building. Mm-hmm. But all this is prelude to my next question, which I think many people have strong opinions about. What Halloween candy is good to hand out, and what is just bullshit? Ken?
Look, I love candy corn. I love the little pumpkin candy corns. I love all the flavored, different colored candy corns. I'll even eat the turkey candy corn. And it's not my favorite. It's not supposed to be your favorite. It's supposed to burn your throat because it's made of wax. I don't know what it is, but I've always liked it. So I'll take your candy corn. You don't have to hand it out. But other than that, you know what? It's one of the ones, little candy bars I only get around Halloween because it's basically only available on the little assortment packs, and that is Crackle.
Oh, yeah.
Candy bars. Like, I love Nestle Crunch. I can get that anytime. I can get that right now at a gas station. Crackle, you got to get the little assortment packs. And I will, if I go to your party, I'm going to eat all the Crackle while you're not looking. So,
so you that's the candy that you want. If you're handing it out, would you try to spread your Crackle love to kids?
Yeah. I want, and you talk about what gift is BS. It's like toothpaste and toothbrush sets, or the little weird granola bars that people hand out. Like no. We're going bad. So yeah, I'd absolutely hand it out, and the Butterfingers too. I love Butterfingers. So that's my joy. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, I can tolerate maybe apple slices because at least they're sweet. Maybe,
sure.
But the toothbrush, that to me is a direct attack on why I love Halloween. We're getting back into but actually, let's be good, let's be responsible. And like, we do that all the time. This is not a night for responsible. This is a night for Crackle. Crackle Eve, all Crackle Eve. Jennifer, do you have a belief about what Halloween candy is good to hand out and what is not?
Yeah, I know what I want to get for sure that I steal from my kids. So there's like the thing that you can get from Target, which is like the big candy pack. And there's usually a chocolate one. And in there, hopefully there is like the little mini Hershey's bar, the Crackle, the M&Ms perhaps. But then there's always a random one that they stick in there that I don't like, a Butterfinger or a Mr. Goodbar or a Three Musketeers. I don't want that stuff. That's no thanks. Love Jolly Ranchers, Sour Patch Kids. You can't go wrong with pretty much any of those. My kids love them all. And of course I'm like, oh, you can't be having all of this. And then I go and I steal some. It's part of the fun of it.
Yeah. We haven't bought it yet, but the last couple of years we've been getting bags of the fun-sized candy bars, and they definitely do figure out what is the one that we otherwise have a harder time selling, and we're gonna have at least one candy bar that ruins each bag.
Right, and I feel bad passing it out, but I'm like, it's in the bag, and I'm not gonna eat it. So here, kid, take it.
Yeah, any coconut-based one. And if you love a coconut-based candy bar, I'm not taking that joy from you, but higher percentage of people don't. So.
Almond Joy, that's right.
Mounds,
Mounds, right. Yeah. I like coconut, but not in that form.
No, 100 grand is the weird one that I like that you get in the candy pack, and it's got some good caramel action going on. Look, if I had a home again where lots of kids came, I would spend the money to do the full size. I think we're living in a fun size world. Kids deserve some full size. I would want to hand out Snickers bars, but I know the nut allergies, so it'd be Snickers bars, and then I would conduct a poll to find out if you can't have Snickers bars, but you'll want something close. What would it be?
That's a good one.
Yeah. And for BS, I'm going to go with anything that isn't candy, unless it's like a Pez dispenser. That's fine, or a little toy or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
But nothing, no lectures, in food form on Halloween for me. All right. I don't know if I'm going to get the full vocal support on this next question, but for years now, people have loved the 12-foot skeleton with light up eyes, sold by Home Depot. It has become a meme and a treasure and a titan of social media and actual physical yards across the country. But Home Depot, after this year, is allegedly discontinuing the 12-foot skeleton. Should we riot? Ken, that's my question. Should we go and physically assault the office of Home Depot?
Sure. Let's do like the French do, and let's go handle it in the streets there. Yeah. I would like to know why. I would go down there, and we don't own one. I think I think there's a chance that Grace would come home with one day with, but why? What? I get it's like you walk in our neighborhood and every other house has one. So maybe maybe they feel, we got to pull it back to make it popular again down the line. I don't know. It's a controversial decision there indeed. So maybe you're not wrong.
Yeah, I have not read in depth. I assume that this is they're taking it away 1 year as a ploy, So Halloween 2024 will be known as the depressing no 12-foot skeleton from Home Depot year. So 2025 can be hooray, the return of the 12-foot skeleton. Jennifer, do you want answers? Are you upset about this?
I was shocked that I don't know why they would be discontinuing it unless it's maybe a safety hazard. I don't know. I will say where I live in LA, a lot of people don't have front yards and things like that. And so if you do have those skeletons, it's kind of a status thing that I've noticed. It signifies that you have the space to have that type of thing. I actually went through an area and I saw multiple houses that had multiple 12-foot skeletons in their yards.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And these houses, they had serious money. I mean, elaborate displays, elaborate. And I was like, that's how you do it. But no one around me has it. I do wonder if some neighbors don't like it. Right?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
But yeah, they're pretty cool. I don't know if I would have it. I really would be scared of it falling on someone. You have to really anchor it very good. I don't know how you put it together, but
there's a lot of skeleton lawn technology. A lot of the ones in my neighborhood have you just get a couple limbs and then you kind of bury them in the ground, so it's parts of the skeleton are sticking out. There's I posted on social media. I think it was Walgreens or something. Had a not 12-foot skeleton, clearly trying to compete, and it's like giant skeleton, 10-foot. Like, give me 2 more feet, come on. But it advertised proudly that it was a sit and stay skeleton, or a pose and stay. And I think it was like you can pose it and it'll hold its form. But I was really amused by the pose and stay, like those skeletons that pose and wander through the neighborhood. Yeah. This is really the only reason I want to be a homeowner again. It's really difficult to be a homeowner, but I might do it for the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton. All right. Going to go through a couple more Halloween traditions as we head towards the end of this discussion in celebration of spooky season. Jennifer, do you like carving pumpkins? And if not, what else should we be carving for Halloween?
I find that carving pumpkins is fun, but the results are usually disappointing. It's also, I feel like it's kind of wasteful and nobody's happy after it's done. They're just like, this is not what I had envisioned. My carving techniques is not as good. And then I try and make the pumpkin seeds. I toast them. Nobody wants to eat them. So what I've learned is I get the foam pumpkins. And that way I can paint it. The kids can paint the foam pumpkins at Michael's or Joann's or whatever. And then you can keep them. So I have some from a few years ago. I made a Princess Leia pumpkin that I painted and I put like yarn buns on the side of the pumpkin. And it's really nice. It's a nice way to bring out your decorations. And I don't feel like I'm throwing away a bunch of rotten pumpkins.
Yeah. I mean, that is a part of the appeal of watching them, slowly just collapse into mush on people's front stoops. But yeah, I understand people don't want that in their home. So good job, Michaels, on the permanent pumpkins. Ken, have you ever carved a pumpkin? How do you feel about it?
I'm intrigued by these foam pumpkins. I'm so out of the game here. I didn't know these exist. This is it's the future is here, kids. Yes, did carve pumpkins. My dad has a lot of artistic skills, and he's really good. A good woodworker, builds things. He could do the stuff, and he's pretty good at it. I'm not, but I never will forget the horror of the first time we got a pumpkin, and my mom and dad were like, "All right, we're gonna carve it. First, you got to take the top off and gonna clean it out." I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean? What's on the inside of this? I just thought we just cut into, and the removing of the guts. Smell, wasn't a huge fan of the pumpkin. I still to this day don't love pumpkin flavored anything. Even carrot cake get too close to pumpkin cake. I can't do it. And it goes to that moment. Our house in Orange County, actually. I just remember the little island in the middle of the kitchen and me just being like, no, I'm not reaching my hand in there to pull all that stuff out. And we never really did it again. And I wasn't good at it. I was too young maybe, but I wasn't good at it. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's a skill. I don't think anyone should be expected to be good.
Yeah.
Hey, 4-year-old, how skilled are you with a knife? Like,
right.
It's not. It's a learned skill. But I had a similar experience actually, where I don't know. My parents couldn't have just got me like a glove, but they did not prepare me. I thought it was so cool. I like to draw. I really wanted to be given a knife and make a cool creative face. And they didn't prepare me at all. They're like, and now stick your hand in. Oh, it was, the smell and the sensation. And I haven't done it since I was a kid. And every year, Sarah and I talk about it. We've got our nice, very small balcony that some other people in our apartment building put pumpkins out on. And we're always too busy. But like, I want to face my childhood fear. I can touch it now. I can touch that pulp. Yeah. So the Michaels is a good option. I at some point, instead of carving a pumpkin, I need to get another piece of the right kind of material and do the Scrimshaw carving, the actual art form that my name comes from.
Yeah,
carve a scary little face, carve a little ghost on a little piece. It doesn't need to be ivory, or if it is ivory at this point, it's like a piano key. No one is encouraging anyone to get out. Traditionally, Scrimshaw is on ivory, on whalebone and things like that. So a lot of times what people do is either find something that's pre-existing, obviously, or even if they don't want to do that, they'll use like an old piano key. So it's still technically ivory. But there's also, substitutes out there. So just didn't want anybody to think I was advocating for whale hunting so I can make a small All right. Heading towards our conclusion here. Many classic movie monsters are appealing because they represent the outsider, particularly a lot of the classic Universal monsters. Or sometimes even those characters, they're directly sympathetic because it's not even representation. It's just very clear. They do not intend to be monsters. They are misunderstood. They're attacked and they attack back, all that kind of thing. So imagining monsters as sympathetic. Ken, what would a sympathetic monster based on you be like?
It'd be the monster that does not want to come out to play, but everyone respects his boundaries, but he respects yours, and he just sits at the cave at the end of the road or the haunted house on the hill, and just enjoys other seasons, and everyone lives happily ever after. No one comes back, attacks me, the monster Ken, and I don't go around scaring everybody. I just this is where I live, and I'm thinking of like. Edward Scissorhands, that house at the end of the street, right? Ooh, spooky, what's up there? But everyone gets it, and we have sympathy, empathy, and compassion for everyone around us.
Leave strange old Ken alone. He doesn't like spooky season.
Yes. And then we, have a good candy exchange. Just, to appease him, you leave a bag of candy corn at the end of the lane.
Nice. I was trying to think of something that I actually want to do that is entirely innocent, but could be easily misconstrued as something scary or weird or monstrous. And I think I would end up becoming the scary lurker who's looking in windows. Like, why? And that the truth is, I'm just really curious about other people's interior decoration. I'm not a creep. I don't want to watch anyone take their clothes off. I just am curious about your bookshelves. I think I would be the looking in your windows, your bookshelves monster that's attacked. Like, I don't understand. He just likes interior decoration.
Yeah.
How about you, Jennifer?
Well, Ken and I are on the same wavelength because I immediately thought of Edward Scissorhands. That was one of my favorite movies before the real life monster emerged. But the reason why the movie resonated with me was because as a teenager, I looked at this town in the movie, which is very cookie cutter, suburbia. It felt like Orange County to me. And Edward is the outsider, the monster who everyone is afraid of until he shows his talent. And then suddenly everyone feels like, oh, now you're worthy of being around us and you're our kindness. And so that to me really, I think that's my life story. That's my life story. So yeah, I would be at the end of the street living in my castle, and the movie would be directed by Guillermo del Toro.
There we go.
There you go. A wonderful selection. Ken, any final spooky season thoughts from you?
Hey, look, I'm going to approach this season here that's upon us. I'm going to approach it with a new sense of wonder. What new traditions can we build around this house, and what candy can I enjoy that I don't normally do? So, hopes to see where the origins of my so-called dislike for this season came from. And do you want to stick in that, or do you want to change and grow, move forward, and maybe try something new, and maybe eventually get out on the dance floor of Halloween?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of spooky Halloween dances you can go to. I think only final spooky season thought for me is I appreciate being around so many people who enjoy it. I'm sure many places, but here in Los Angeles, going to Portland next weekend, and they love pumpkins. They love Halloween too, and apparently have some sort of like pumpkin growing competition, because that's just like I go around Portland seeing how many freakishly large pumpkins I can see. It to me, it's just, I know it's not for everyone, and I understand, but it is just such a great season of community, because you can choose to talk, you can choose to go to parties, but it's nice to just be able to wander around the world and feel the physical world outside and feel connected. Of like, I'm not going to knock on that person's house, but I really love their weird skeleton bat they have in their lawn, and feel a little bit of a connection, sense of community. How about you, Jennifer? Any final spooky season thoughts?
I just remembered that I had a birthday party that was a costume themed. And I think it's because my mom was so anti-Halloween that I was like, ooh, I'll be sneaky and I'm going to make everyone dress up. And I'm going to talk about this in a video later on about those retro costumes from the 80s that were like plastic. I'm just now remembering all of this. So stay tuned for more spooky thoughts. This has been very fun.
I love it. To be continued. Bum, bum, bum. All right. That is our look at the spooky season. Ken, where can people find us?
Hey, you can find us on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod. It's spooky over there, so try to push through the fear, I guess. Or you can find us on Threads at ForceCenter Pod as well. We're Instagram and YouTube. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. We're available on a lot of spots. If you want to listen to us, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and more. Just search, you'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. Get a shirt and dress up as a Star Wars podcaster. That can be your costume. Patreon.com/ForceCenter is where you can support us directly. You can follow me at Ken Napzok. Go to my website, kennapzok.com. A lot of things on there right now. On October 10th, releasing a comedy EP recorded live in London with some ForceCenter friends in the audience called In My Day. There is versions on Apple, Spotify, but also a special edition version available on Bandcamp. That's all coming your way next week, and it's on my website, and also some upcoming comedy dates: New York, October 12th and 13th, Seattle in December, Boston in the early part of New Year, and Portland, it looks like. So, Joseph, I'll be needing some Portland recommendations. Jen, where can they find and follow you and all your adventures, including your plastic Halloween costume expose?
Yes, exactly. I'll be doing that on TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138, and most likely Instagram and YouTube at Jennifer Landa.
Yeah, beautiful. Joseph, where are they going to find you this weekend in Portland, and where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on all of the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw. Blue Sky and Instagram in particular are where I'm trying to spend some more time, but I'm on pretty much all those places. For this upcoming weekend, the HP Lovecraft Film Festival, you can just Google HP Lovecraft Film Festival, or it's on my social media or my website, josephscrimshaw.com. There are going to be 2 screenings of this short film that I've been working on and talking about for a while now, The Nightmare Adorable. Ken is featured in it as well. If you live in the Portland area and you want to come out, there'll be 2 screenings at the festival with a live Q&A with various directors afterwards. The first one is at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, October 7th, and then 7 p.m. on Sunday, October 8th. Wait, did I get dates wrong? Probably. Saturday and Sunday of this coming weekend is where you can see those. And again, all that information is on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. Final thing, if you were kind enough to back the Kickstarter for The Nightmare Adorable, I've been working on all the rewards, including a private link to watch the film at home, and that stuff will be coming to you this very spooky week.
Ooh, love that. Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. What are your costumes? Share the pictures with us all through the spooky season, and maybe pictures of your favorite candy as well. We'll see you next time here on OtherCenter.